As the country pauses to honor the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., there you see his memorial in Washington, D.C., the first black woman to run the Justice Department Civil Rights Division says that voting discrimination persists today. Assistant Attorney General Kristen Clarke is her name, talked with our Jeff Pegues in her first TV interview since taking office last year. She says that continuing Dr. King's quest for equal access to the ballot box is one of her department's top priorities.
What do you think is the state of civil rights in this country right now?
We have made a lot of progress as a nation, but we've still got a long way to go.
Assistant Attorney General Kristen Clarke hears the frustration of many over new state voting restrictions and says her department is using every tool at its disposal to protect voting rights. Would you say that it's people of color who are being targeted by these laws?
Yes, voting discrimination is alive and well.
Well, who do you think is behind this effort?
Well, look, I do not view this as a partisan issue.
You don't?
I don't. I was there at the White House when President Bush signed the last reauthorization of the bill into law. It passed in Congress in 2006 by a 98-0 vote in the Senate.
You might be the only one in this town that doesn't see it as a partisan issue.
Well, I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful that we can get back to that place where we've been time and time again, where Congress has worked in bipartisan fashion to renew the Voting Rights Act.
Right now, the legislation is stalled in Congress. The Biden administration and Senate Democrats do not have the votes to pass their election reform measures. Within the Democratic Party, there is growing frustration that the Justice Department and the president failed to reverse Republican efforts to change state election laws with the midterm election approaching and control of Congress on the ballot. You feel any pressure to get this done?
There's an urgency, for sure. I understand the frustration that people feel as we watch states that are working to make it harder for people to vote.
Clarke has a reputation for not backing down from a fight. She was raised in working-class East New York, Brooklyn, one of New York City's toughest neighborhoods. She says her parents, who immigrated to the U.S. from Jamaica, wanted their kids to get a good education. As a teenager, Clarke attended Choate Rosemary Hall in Connecticut, one of the most prestigious boarding schools in the country. Alumni include President John F. Kennedy. How did you adapt?
You know, I just settled right in. It was very
It must not have been easy at that time.
No, not easy. A very different environment than East New York.
During her third year at Choate, she says she learned how the law could be a powerful tool for change when she sat in on a landmark desegregation case focusing on the disparities between urban and suburban schools.
In many ways, Choate has a lot to do with my journey to where I am today.
Today, she is the first black woman heading the Civil Rights Division, headquartered in former FBI Director J. Edgar Hoover's old office. From her desk, she can see Pennsylvania Avenue and Capitol Hill. But she hasn't forgotten how she got here.
I know what it's like for families who grow up poor and who struggle, who live paycheck to paycheck. I know what that experience is like. I know what it's like to be marginalized, sidelined, and silenced. And that personal perspective shapes who I am.
For CBS Mornings, Jeff Pegues, Washington.
Amazing. I knew very little about her, but it's really interesting to hear her story. I like when Jeff asked her about going to Choate, which is a predominantly white school in Wallingford, Connecticut. She said, I just settled right in. She said, I didn't say it was easy, but I just settled right in. And look where she sits today in the view from her window.
She also said voting restrictions were not political, not a political issue in her view.
It might not have started out political, Tony, but it sure feels very political these days.